Hey guys, Prithvi Raja, hope you guys are doing great. In the sea of televisions that we see in the market currently, we have plethora of options to choose from. Now we have so many panels. You can either go for an LCD panel, you can go for an OLED panel or a QLED, whatever you want to call it. There are options for you, starting from a really budget-friendly price that goes all the way up to into the premium segment, which cost a fortune. Now, consumption of entertainment became a popular thing, especially during the pandemic, because it definitely saw a huge surge in number of people watching Netflix, Hulu, any service for that matter. And a lot of people started doing that with their PC, because generally PC also has a fairly bit bigger screen to enjoy and immerse yourself. But a lot of people also started buying TVs at home so that they could watch a lot of nice shows in a bigger screen, because none of us weren't allowed to even go to the theaters because the theaters were closed all over the country. Now that said, this particular TV behind me is pretty interesting for many reasons. Now it's from Huawei, by the way, and Huawei, knowing the brand that they are popular with their smartphones, or at least they were popular with their smartphones. Rest in peace, Huawei Mate and P series. But they are venturing into other areas that they are actually seeing some success to a certain extent. And some of the examples would be the AX routers, which is definitely getting a lot of good name and for its affordability and offering really good price to value ratio. And this particular TV behind me is also kind of in a really good price to value ratio. But should you actually purchase the Huawei Vision S over the other TVs that are currently available in the market and has a better track record in general because they have existed for a longer period of time, which we are going to address in this video. So let's not waste any time and get right into it. And you're watching The Adventures of Vesper. Let's begin. What we do have here is the Huawei Vision S in the 65-inch variant. Now there is a 55-inch variant, so if you really want a smaller TV that fits really nice and well in your room, you can go for the 65-inch variant. But if you want something that's a little bigger, then 65-inch it is. Unfortunately, the unit that we got from Huawei comes in this Chinese variant, but there are certain good things that you should know. The difference between the Chinese set and the Malaysian variant, which will be made available, aren't that different at all, because in terms of hardware, you're getting the exact hardware, the exact same processor, the same display panel, the same specification through and through, regardless of whichever model that you go for, either the 55 or the 65. The only change, or the major change that's going to be, is the software, because both the TV runs in HarmonyOS, but obviously the Chinese variant has application that's targeted specifically to the Chinese demographic, and the Huawei service, which is the core service, is more catered towards the Chinese demographic. But the Malaysian one will have the HMS made for Malaysian market, so it's something that you should know. But as for the rest of the review, don't worry, it's going to be pretty much the same, and my thoughts won't vary, because trying the Malaysian variant, I realized there isn't much difference anyway. Okay, now I'm going to divide this particular review into two parts. One as a TV, and I'm not going to talk about the smart aspect of things, and the other one is the smart TV. How does it bode well in two different areas? Does it do well as a TV, or does it do well as a smart TV, or how does it do well as both? Because this is going to give you an interesting perspective on how to look at this particular TV, because I really have a lot to say, and I'm gonna highlight certain things in this video. So let's just start. Now, as a TV, starting off with the design, I love the design of the Huawei Vision S, and it's one of the cleanest design I've ever seen so far. Usually when it comes to keeping a TV minimalistic, a lot of brands tend to go way over the edge and add this edgy looking design, wedge shape legs or some sort of mount that looks really alienated through and through, that doesn't look minimalistic, but it looks very sophisticated. So if you really go for a particular sophisticated setup in your living room, then chances are it will blend in well. But sometimes a lot of users would want a TV that looks pretty simple and nice to look at, and that is definitely what the Huawei Vision S does here. It comes in this really nice black finish, doesn't have any other colors going on, and has a really thin bezel going all over the display. And the legs on this particular TV is pretty interesting. So it's a parallel, it's like a rectangle plate that uses like the smaller area to actually support on the table. But don't worry, because it has two of them, so it supports really well. Once you screw them up, it actually gets a really strong joint, and it stays well on the table. And it's long enough so that you don't have to worry about the TV toppling off the whatever counter that you're going to place the TV on. Or if you want to wall mount it, there's also a possibility of doing that, because they do include the wall mount bracket inside the box. Now the second thing is the display, because display is important in a TV, and especially if you're spending a pretty penny, you'll want a good display to go along with the content that you're going to watch. I mean, obviously, imagine if you're going to watch some horror movie or a thriller movie, you want to immerse yourself and get the little bit of jump scare, right? So in that case, this one comes in a 65-inch variant, and it uses a 4K Ultra HD panel, but instead of going for something like a quantum dot panel that we have seen with other contenders, or an OLED panel, which is also becoming widely popular, they've went for an LCD panel. Now, LCD panel aren't particularly great when it comes to producing real blacks. Now, when I'm saying like real true blacks, if you were to look into a LED or a different kind of OLED panel, it actually has a really nice deep dark black that just blends into the system really well. Unfortunately, LCD panels can't do that, but what did they do in order to just kind of compensate for that is increase the DCI-P3 color gamut for this one. So usually you get about like 70 to 80% of DCI-P3 color gamut, but this one has a 92% of DCI-P3 color gamut. So they did try their best to give some sort of leverage over the over the panel by increasing the colors, and that kind of gives you this nice vivid experience. And for the most part, the moment when you do look at certain contents or play games on this particular TV, you'll realize that colors are pretty alright. Obviously, you can actually change the color presets using the settings baked right into the system. So you can choose a movie mode, game mode, sports. It's pretty much the same kind of presets that you would find in any kind of TV that's also baked right into this one. Now, the brightness of this particular TV is a bit of a hit and miss, because it comes in at 350 nits of brightness. So if you're placing it in a living room where you have a huge window, and if the sun shines through that, chances are you might have a little bit of glare. But good thing is that they do have an anti-glare coating on top of the TV that does help to a certain extent. But for the most part, you can still view some really nice content. Now, obviously, as a TV, it should perform just like any other TV, and watching and viewing content on this one is pretty fun. Another interesting thing about this particular TV is that it's actually one of the very few TV that's currently available in the market that has a 120 Hz panel on it. So which means you can actually watch a lot of 120 Hz content. So say if there are certain video that uses the 24 frames or 27 frames or 30 frames per second, it actually upscales to the 120 Hz using the MEMC algorithm, and that kind of gives you this like buttery smooth experience. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with that, because I like to watch in the cinematic kind of frames, and that one is kind of nice to watch in a cinematic view. And when you actually get it upscaled automatically, there's no way to turn it off, by the way. And I've also checked with other TV manufacturers, they also do the same thing with certain models, and unfortunately you can't turn that off as well. So chances are pretty much stuck with that. But the contents look okay, and there isn't much to complain, but sometimes it does feel a little bit too smooth for my own liking. Another thing is that since it's a 120 Hz TV, that uses a 120 Hz panel, obviously. I was wondering what if I were to use the latest PlayStation 5, connect it and take advantage of the 120 Hz, because there aren't a lot of TVs in the market that goes to your 4K 120 and where you can use your console to take complete advantage of that. So far we see with the brand themselves that makes the console that has Sony PlayStation certified TVs, but other than that we have not seen anything from other manufacturers. So this is definitely a good one, but unfortunately it doesn't take advantage of that, because what we do have here is the HDMI port limiting to HDMI 1.4 and 2.0, because if you want to use the 4K 120 you would need a HDMI 2.1 port instead, and that can't be done through an update because that is a real proper hardware change. So chances are, if you do plan to get this particular TV to game in 120 Hz on a console like the PlayStation 5, you're definitely going to miss out. But a good thing is that PlayStation has its own upscaling method of bringing it up to 60 Hz and so on. So the gaming experience on this particular TV was quite fun, and I played Spider-Man Miles Morales, so that was really nice to play, and I think I really enjoyed playing in a huge screen, so that's definitely a good takeaway. The third thing that I'm going to talk about a TV is the speaker, because speakers on a TV are generally, well, to put it in the lack of a better word, are disappointing, because they don't have the best clarity, they don't have the best bass going on, they don't have a nice treble along with it. So you'll miss out a lot of details, and for the most part, almost 90% of the time, you're definitely going to purchase a external soundbar and amplify or have a better sound experience. But this particular TV has 4 speakers built right into the TV. And the speaker does a good job in actually producing really good bass. I wouldn't say it's the best bass I've heard, but it produces decent amount of bass and a nice treble so that the vocals don't get muffled away, and there isn't a loss of detail in the TV sound. So there isn't a loss of detail in the TV sound. So if you don't have the extra penny to purchase a soundbar and you just want to live with these speakers for a little bit of time, the speakers on the Huawei Vision S does a good job, and you may not want to invest in a soundbar, but if you do want an immersive set of speakers or a sound experience, then you would have to invest in one, but you don't have to invest in it right away, and it's not that kind of a bad speaker. It's actually pretty acceptable. Okay, now the TV aspect is done. We're gonna move into the smart TV territory with this one. Let me start off with the first one, the HarmonyOS. It doesn't really bring so much of harmony in, I feel, because here's what I think about this particular OS. Now, obviously, the moment you boot it up, you just see this really nice TV interface that I actually like, and there's nothing much to hate because it's a rather straightforward TV setup. Looks nice, has those really big buttons all over the place for applications, so it's easier to maneuver around with the remote control and so on. But HarmonyOS is kind of limited on this particular TV because you don't get a lot of feature and you're pretty much locked into Huawei's app gallery. That means you only get the applications whatever the app gallery has to offer, and chances are you may miss out on the major features or the major streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, and so on to take complete advantage of the 4K panel. This is kind of sad because it's a good potential of a TV, but it kind of misses out on that. So the only way for you to bring other content onto your TV is by getting a Chromecast, which we did hook up on our TV and watch some really good content, or you can even hook up your laptop or a PC to take complete advantage of that. But if you do have a console that already supports on 4K 60 Hz, chances are you can always use your console to watch any kind of shows you want and still be happy about it. But since it's a smart TV, obviously everything needs to come from within, so it does lack in that area. Now, the HarmonyOS isn't entirely a new OS. It still uses the Android base bid and builds upon it. And essentially what we do have here is a Android TV without an Android TV OS and without the Google services, but instead you have Huawei's very own services, which they call it the Huawei Core. Does that mean you can sideload your application? Yes, you can sideload your applications. You can download APK off your internet. Be careful where you download from, because you don't want to download some malware that can end up spying you and your activity. We did download some of the APKs like Spotify, Netflix, Popcorn Time, just to try it out, and so many other applications just to see if it works or not. Unfortunately, the application that requires Google services to run did not work, like Netflix for instance, and application like Spotify, which does not require Google services, did work really well, because all you need to do is just log into the service and voila, you are good to go, and you can actually use this particular TV for anything that you want, including listening to music. And I actually like that one. But this is where it kind of gets complicated with this particular area, because when you don't have a lot of application that supports on a day-to-day basis, people will have to get another extra device to make this TV usable. So in that case, you might wonder, like, so which means like I will be missing on a lot of content, am I right? That's a yes and a no, because in the Malaysian unit, obviously you get Huawei Video and Huawei services that we saw with the Huawei MatePad tablets, and essentially what we do have here is a big 65-inch tablet sans a touchscreen. So that's what it is. And whatever you saw in the tablet's Huawei Video application, you're gonna get the same thing here. So if you want to watch some English movies like Star Trek and so on, you can actually watch it in the Malaysian variant, but you're still gonna have limited number of content that's accessible. Now you might be wondering, so if the HarmonyOS isn't a okay OS, or I'm gonna miss out a lot of feature, does this mean this TV can't sell? Not quite, because there's something that I really want to say about this particular TV. Huawei's vision with the Vision S is a little different. Now, okay, let me talk about the whole IoT and the ecosystem in Malaysia. I'll be very honest, it's disconnected, because the whole idea of having an IoT or a smart home is to be able to have all these devices communicating with each other to create this smart ecosystem at home. But unfortunately, we can't do that in Malaysia, because the moment whenever we see a word associated with the word smart, it automatically becomes one of the most expensive stuff one can only dream of but can never buy. There are so many smart TVs in the market, and those TV cost like really expensive if you want a really good set of feature. There are a lot of factors that involves in that particular area, which is what Huawei is trying to bridge here. We have seen a lot of their ecosystem product, the Huawei Sound X. That was a good speaker, had its pros and cons. If you want to watch the review, you can actually check out the link on the description below. But it's one of the ecosystem product. There's one. Their Huawei router, which is the AX series router, which also has received a number of good reviews, including from our friends over at Other Media. A lot of good products are making its way into the Malaysian market, which means there is hope for Huawei to make really good progress in the ecosystem range of things. And this particular TV is the biggest product as of right now that they are bringing into the Malaysian market. And TV is the essential thing to a living room. And I can see why they want to bring this particular TV into the set, because this particular TV will act as a bridge for all the other product, and it will connect and communicate with each other, making into one ecosystem. And this is the kind of idea that they're going for, and for the most part I can see that, because trust me when I say this, you don't get to see a lot of TV with a webcam attached to it. Now this is more or less like a conference TV if you think about it, but it comes with a webcam, and they want to keep this particular TV connected to the living room, bringing life to the living room. So say for instance, if you want to engage into a video call with your friends or your family in a different place, and you want to be all together in this one particular video camera, you can do that with a TV. That's the whole idea of it. But unfortunately, the service that they are going along with the camera is their very own proprietary Me Time. Now, Me Time is a service that also requires a lot of adapting going on, because not all the platforms supports Me Time as of right now. If you were to go to the Play Store, you can still find Me Time, and it's only exclusive to Huawei devices. So when Huawei does venture out and brings their application to other platform, chances are this particular TV has hope, and this particular TV is definitely going to keep a lot of things connected in the living room, including to people all over the world, and you can always make a call from your living room. That's actually pretty cool if you ask me. And we're at the end of the conclusion actually. The Huawei Vision S is a good way of reviving their name from being a smartphone brand into a household brand. And I will say this wholeheartedly, because you can see the smartphone division is kind of going through a tough time, and they want to venture into some other segment where they can excel and show how good they are and come out with their true potential. This particular TV isn't perfect. After all, it does have its fair share of trade-offs, but it does make up for that particular trade-off. Like for instance, yeah, sure, it uses an LCD panel, but it has a 4K 120Hz panel, and it has a better color rate of DCI-P3 color gamut covering about 92%. That's one. We also have a webcam, which is something that you don't get to find on a TV generally in this price bracket. Number 3 will be the ability to upscale, and also the very same time to have a good sound experience, even with these 4 speakers that's baked right into the TV. These are something that you don't get for the price tag. And when I say the price tag, I've been saying this for a long time in this particular video, because this one right here cost about 3,999 ringgit. That's like 4,000 bucks for a 65-inch 4K Ultra HD TV, and that's a deal breaker. And if you want a 55-inch, it can go for about 2,999, and that's also a really good price. 1,000 bucks difference between the 55 and 65, I'll take it. And if I really want one, I would go for the 55-inch, and it just does hit me in a sweet spot. The only thing Huawei needs to do is to keep their promise when it comes to their OS and the experience, because HarmonyOS to me isn't quite there yet. I'm going to be very honest about that. But their idea and their vision of making into what it is going to be, that is the ecosystem for home, and the ecosystem one where user can depend the whole time, is a really good vision to look at. And right now the ball is in Huawei's park, and it's up to them if they want to live up to that, or if they're going to ditch that and go in some other direction. But also something that you really should remember, that not a lot of TV use Android OS, by the way. A lot of other manufacturers use their own proprietary OS, whereas this one still uses a kind of like an HarmonyOS, but it uses the same Android structure and whatsoever, and you can still sideload applications, so that's kind of nice. A good feature to have, but we'll see how it goes, because I'm really curious on how the HarmonyOS is going to turn out to be. But for the price tag, I can definitely say this is one of the nicest TV I've ever tried, and I think you can't get anything more than this, especially a webcam on your TV. So yeah, that's basically it. Huge thanks to Huawei Malaysia for sending this TV over for us to make this review happen. We had a good time for a month. I've been playing a lot of games on this one, especially just hooked up my PC, and then I was playing all those ported games that's now available on Steam. So I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn, super fun. If you haven't bought the game already, there are sales going on as of right now, so you can just purchase and play those kind of games. or if you have a PS5, then you can play those kind of games. Oh, and also special thanks to my friend SJ for loaning his PlayStation 5 for this content to happen as well. Until then, this is Prithviraj signing off. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye.